Welcome into the Ohio State Football Report. Billy Beebe back with you. Just trying to stay safe during all the snow and everything we kind of got going on. So we're doing an at-home video today. Should be good to go back in studio tomorrow talking Buckeyes. Of course, Arthur Smith is the biggest story right now for Ohio State, the brand new offensive coordinator for the Buckeyes, NFL experience, hired over the weekend. We're going to talk about the top 5 players impacted by the hire of Arthur Smith, what that looks like, who could have a bigger year than expected, what type of offense he's running that leads to these guys having big years. And I think this is a discussion worth having. So before we get it going, I do want to ask you guys, name a player that will have a big year in 2026. Maybe it's because of Arthur Smith. Maybe you predicted it already. But give me a name. Somebody you think is going to have a big season in 2026 for Ohio State football. Jumping right into it. The number one player. I wanted to just go number 1 to 5. Number one player that I think is going to be impacted by Arthur Smith is Bo Jackson, the running back for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Took care of the NIL situation, getting Bo back for his sophomore year. Very big deal there. He kind of worked through an interesting running back situation last year and came away as the number one and had a huge year, right? True freshman. Great season, over 1,000 yards rushing, 200 yards receiving, and I thought we saw some really good stuff receiving from him. The Michigan game, obviously, is the big one where he had more yards total himself than the Wolverines on offense, right? So proved himself in a big game. Maybe not the utmost impact against Indiana or Miami, but I thought a terrific freshman season from Bo Jackson. And when it comes to Arthur Smith, there's going to be one name that is always linked to Arthur Smith and Arthur Smith's success as an offensive coordinator, and that is Derrick Henry. And that is right. Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator, play caller for prime King Derrick Henry, right? Those two are linked. Got Smith the job with the Falcons. It is a link in time between Arthur Smith and Derrick Henry. His age 25 and age 26 seasons, 2019 and 2022. Derrick Henry Jr., 2019, 303 carries, 1,500 yards, over 1,500 yards, 16 touchdowns. And then the 2020 season was the big one for Derrick Henry, over 2,000 yards rushing and 17 rushing touchdowns. Obviously, you don't just assume that can translate to Bo Jackson. That can be Bo Jackson. But Arthur Smith knows what to do with a talented running back, how to make the most of a talented running back, taking him to another level. We know Arthur Smith can do that for Derrick Henry. No reason he shouldn't be able to do that for Bo Jackson. And I actually think the 19 catches for 200 yards receiving for Bo Jackson could really, really go up. If you look at some of the things Arthur Smith has done in Pittsburgh, in Atlanta, those were receiving backs too, right? Getting Bijan the ball out of the backfield, even if it's receiving. Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, one of the leading receivers for the Steelers this past season. Big year for Bo coming. That is my kind of bold prediction. I think Bo's the one that's going to benefit most from Arthur Smith and the hire there. Now, the second player, I'm cheating here. I'm going players, the tight ends. You're going to hear this narrative plenty with Arthur Smith. You're going to hear a lot of Jonnu Smith jokes because he had him twice. He uses the tight ends. And look, you're talking about a play-action-driven, conservative offense that works off of the run. For Browns fans, that's a lot of Kevin Stefanski, early Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland, throwing to Austin Hooper, David Njoku. Tight ends benefit from the Arthur Smith offense, right? Now, the big question here, Max Clare gone, Will Kazmarek gone. The new tight ends for Ohio State, if you've kept up on the channel, great reason to subscribe. Hunter Welcing from Northwestern and Mason Williams from Ohio. Last year, Welcing, 28 catches, 296 yards, 2 touchdowns to go with that. Mason Williams, 26 catches, 276 and 3 touchdowns. Crazy thing is, those stats together make up about what Max Clare had for Ohio State. Welcing's a 7th-year tight end. Very interesting to me if he's the guy, the tight end for Ohio State. Great comment from Bill Landis, one of the Ohio State football beat reporters. You can check out his Substack. We'll have his name down below in the comment section. Last season, the Steelers ranked 3rd in the league in frequency of their multi-tight end sets. This blends nicely with Ohio State, which used tight end position at a high rate in 2025. Boy, don't we know it. And historically wanting to see a fair amount of its offense out of 12 personnel, 12 or 13 personnel, 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, 1 running back, since Day took over as head coach in 2019. We saw a ton of it last year. I thought it was stressful, especially in the red zone. I really could not stand the usage of tight ends, but it's worth noting this is an Arthur Smith enjoyment in his offense as the tight ends, and we see Ryan Day getting more and more into it conservatively to get the tight ends involved. So Welcing and Williams should definitely benefit from Arthur Smith. Before we get to the final 3 guys, and we got some interesting ones there, I do want to let you guys know the big game is almost here, and there's no other way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, we now know the matchup there. That also means it's your last chance to get into football action before next season. So close the season out right with PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. New feature alert right now on PrizePicks is early payouts. If you set a 4-pick power play, good example in the title games yesterday, your first one does well, first one works for you, it's a good chance you can cash out with the new early payouts on PrizePicks. So I think that's something really great that they added that people are really, really interested in. Also, big thing on PrizePicks for me is always how you play is up to you. This is what I love. If I want to go flexibility, I choose flex play where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want to go for the biggest payouts, you go for the power play. No matter how you play, PrizePicks is a great way to take your takes and put them to the test. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. More players that I think are really going to be impacted by Arthur Smith and the hiring of Arthur Smith as an offensive coordinator. Jeremiah Smith. Obviously, JJ already talking about the big season he plans to have in 2026, and I think that's a very valid and good argument for him there. 87 catches, 1,200 yards last season, 12 touchdowns, 14 yards a catch, and the big quote that has gone around social media, him talking about next season, it's going to be scary. I'm going to be on go every game. I feel like this year they took something from me, and everybody has to pay for it. I'm going out for everybody. Big thing is, he's the number 1 target, right? So if you're running a conservative offense, if you're getting the smart plays out, the dink and dunks, the here and there's, Smith's just going to get his opportunities because there's only so many, and he's the guy, right? That's the big deal for next year. I do want to note there just isn't a Carnell Tate there for Ohio State next season. Maybe Chris Henry Jr. can get on that level, but I think in general, there isn't somebody, lobbying for the amount of catches that Carnell Tate had. Right? There isn't somebody who can make the plays Carnell Tate can. So I think Jeremiah Smith is definitely the guy to get most of those passes. Obviously more than the tight ends. We still see DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown in these Smith offenses. They were the ones that benefited. Drake London at times for Atlanta. I think Jeremiah Smith's primed for a big season. He's the number 1 target. Smith knows he needs to get the ball. If you're running a conservative offense and you're calling plays for him, you get it to your number 1. Question for you guys. What percentage chance do you think Jeremiah Smith gets the Heisman next season? Give me a percentage chance he wins the 2026 Heisman. All right, when talking about Arthur Smith and his impact on players, obviously the quarterback is going to be a discussion. Julian Sayin. Big thing for me, and this was the same with the offensive line for Ohio State. You go the longer in the season, and the vibes kind of die off a little bit just because of how it ended. Julian Sayin was a Heisman finalist. He was in New York taking pictures. I know he finished 4th in voting, but taking pictures, shaking hands as a really first-time starter, redshirt freshman up for the Heisman. And I think Sayin's skills of, relatively good decision-making, accurate passing, right? Solid arm. That goes perfectly with an Arthur Smith offense, right? Conservative, play action, rollouts, hit the deep ball based off the run, roll out to the right and hit something quick. Those are strengths of Julian Sayin already. Now you get a NFL, play caller in the building, working with him, getting him going, that 77% completion percentage should go up. The yards should go up. The touchdowns should go up. The interceptions should go down. QBR should go up. I think this is an offense made for somebody like Julian Sayin. I don't think he is a guy to throw 60 times a game, 50 times a game like Dwayne Haskins. I think he's a smart decision maker and an efficient passer, and in an offense like this, it should benefit him greatly. Great quote from Taylor Lewan. You might have seen it. He played for Arthur Smith in Tennessee, obviously busting with the boys now, a big thing, connecting in the college football world. He gave a quote, all the quarterbacks he's had, whether it's been as an OC or a head coach, their winning percentage without Arthur Smith coaching them is 36.11%. Talking about Tannehill, this is a good example, too, of the guys he's coached. Tannehill, Matt Ryan, Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers with Arthur Smith. These seasons they've had Arthur Smith, it jumps up to 55% winning percentage. 33 to 55, 36 to 55. 20%. So a 20% swing. And then since they've left them, it dropped back down to 42%. He has helped quarterbacks get better, right? I'm hoping the same for Julian Sayin here. What is your confidence level in Julian Sayin? Take what you had this year, play into Arthur Smith, look at next year. Confidence level in Julian Sayin heading into the 2026 season. Scale it for me, 1 to 10. The last one, this was kind of a tough one. Basically, I don't know who the Buckeyes' number 2 receiver is right now. On the outside, I think you definitely expect Chris Henry Jr. to get a real shot to play right away for Ohio State, so he is who I've listed here. I do think Brandon Inniss should benefit just from being in the slot and being, a go-to guy and a reliable guy for Ohio State. I think his numbers should be a little bit better, but Chris Henry Jr. should be your number 2, I think at least by a good point of the season. Do want to note, in Tennessee, Corey Davis, he got his contract with the Jets because of what he did with the Titans. And that was Arthur Smith. It wasn't just A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry. Good stuff from Corey Davis also in this offense. There's plenty of room for multiple guys to eat in this offense. I think there is a world where Bo Jackson, Jeremiah Smith, and a third receiver, are all at 1,000 yards next year. I don't know how that works with matching Carnell Tate's numbers, and Tate was hurt this year and all that. But when Arthur Smith, the big thing I want to hit on, when Arthur Smith has the talent, looks very good. He had a lot of talent in Tennessee. I thought that team was well built for him, and he made the most of it. You're going to get recent hate from the Pittsburgh situation and the Atlanta situation. I don't think Atlanta's a very talented team. I think Arthur Smith worked with a lot of Desmond Ridder-esque players there. I think that should be noted. And, the Steelers' second leading receiver is Pat Freiermuth, and then it's like a running back in Kenneth Gainwell. They did not have talent to throw the ball to, right? So now you give Arthur Smith basically every single position he's working with now is one of the most talented in the country. There's a really good chance he makes the most of those guys, not just the ones I listed, but the offense overall. Go ahead and answer those questions down in the comment section. We're going to talk more Arthur Smith coming up here on the Ohio State Football Report, so be sure to subscribe, stay connected with anything happening Ohio State football.